First off, I want to say this. I think a lot of well-meaning educators, K through 12, they think that because they're doing anti-racist education, that they're doing critical race theory. And that's actually a mistake, right? Just because there's this buzzword now, critical race theory is sort of an all-engulfing word now because of the way that conservatives have politicized the word, right? So let's make a distinction between CRT, what's happening now, versus CRT, what it really is. CRT, what's happening now, I think when conservatives talk about it now, they just mean any education that has to do with anti-racist education, any kind of anti-racist education.
Right. Drop all the words.
And it's just it's a
diversity, inclusivity,
right.
SEL,
any of it, right? And some of these approaches to racial justice and anti-racist work are opposed to each other, right? They don't even approach it. Like multiculturalism and colorblind theory are actually both anti-racist approaches, right? Now, a lot of people now see that colorblind approaches to racial justice were problematic, but all of it is under the umbrella of anything having to do with race is CRT now. But historically, what CRT, critical race theory is, it came from legal scholars, right? So it came from Derek Bell, Kimberly Crenshaw, Richard Delgado, Gene Stefanczyk, Mari Matsuda. These are all lawyers of color. And they all were basically using a lens of analysis to analyze the way that race was woven into law. So they were challenging the assumption that law was neutral. They were also responding to what they saw as the failures of the civil rights movement. So the civil rights movement thought sort of the popular MLK approach was, look, if we can get people to buy in, we can gradually work our way to justice, right? And we can eradicate racism. They looked at the laws that were passed after the Civil Rights Act, and they said, look, these laws all got rid of the racist language, but the racism is still happening, right? People are still being affected by race, et cetera, et cetera. And so they have different theses, right? So like one of their theses of critical race theory is that racism is an intrinsic, permanent part of our legal system and our society, right? Now, if you do any kind of anti-racist work, a lot of us don't think that racism is permanent, right? Like it can be undone just like it was created. And so I say all that to say, critical race theory is a very high level, complicated, legal and sociological theory. It's a lens for viewing the law and for society and education, history, et cetera, et cetera. And it has specific views about race. And that's different than anti-racist theory in general, right?